being it in the area of agro-entrepreneurship. And so far, we have created so many opportunities for our young people, those that we think they have the potentials to actually contribute to national development, but again, they might not actually have, the idea as to how exactly they could penetrate the job market.
Nice.
So these are some of the people we will definitely help to, help them come up with careers. And today, we can say, we have few that have been employed in different sectors, and we also have others that have also acquired some, life skills for themselves. So actually, we're progressing in those areas.
Nice, that's amazing, and that's always very important with these organizations to have it and actually fulfill the purpose and the role, but actually make an impact in society, and that's something Just Act is doing. Thank you for that, Ahmad. Now, hearing your background, it says you grew up in the Greater Banjul area. And then, not fully. You grew up some parts in the Greater Banjul area. Then you relocated to Janjanbureh in 2010. So tell us about your childhood. What was it like, having that different sort of, upbringing?
Yeah, I would say yes. I was kind of fortunate to be brought up in different environments. That is both the rural Gambia and also in the urban area. Because I know I started my childhood from rural Gambia, that is Georgetown, because my dad used to be a civil servant and posted on that island. So I was lucky to be born and raised on that island until at about the age of 12. I moved to the Greater Banjul area, that was in Kanifing, to also live with my dad and do part of my secondary education. And it was until when I completed my upper basic, I then went back to Janjanbureh to attend Amitechina Secondary School. And upon completion, I came back to the Greater Banjul area to actually study tourism.
Nice.
Because what happened here is I knew my dad to have influence in the development of tourism in Janjanbureh or in rural Gambia. But I also noticed there was a gap that he didn't study tourism.
Right.
So I have to decide by myself that, I need a background knowledge around tourism. So I came back to this end to actually study tourism at IPAM and as well as at the Institute of Travel and Tourism of the Gambia.
Nice.
That is ITalk. And whilst I was studying at ITalk, I was also working with a charity organization called Paper Recycling Skills Project. It's an NGO or a small charity that is that was more of, or that is more of into environmental activities. And until 2010, I realized by myself that actually the things that I have been doing with the paper recycling project is more of tourism related, more of responsible tourism related, and I had those potentials in Janjanbureh. So I took it upon myself actually to quit that job in the Greater Banjul area and then went back to Janjanbureh to join Just Act, that is Janjanbureh United Sustainable Tourism and Community Training, with the hope that I can also impact positively around tourism and also, inspire other young people. So that is where the decision emerged from, and since 2010, I have been living in Janjanbureh and also into so many other development areas.
Nice, nice. So you had an interesting childhood because, you was going back and forth, and I believe everything you've learned from either areas, you've actually together, and that's molded you to become who you are today. But this is a question I always ask my interviewees. It's always good to know what kind of personality they had growing up. Were they stubborn? Were they, quiet and timid? I'd like to know, a bit about you. How was you like?
Yeah, well, I would say that it's an expensive question because it's more of personal. But I would say, at some point in childhood, more especially when I was going to school, I was really stubborn, to be honest with you. But again, life after school, I realized that, being stubborn may have no future. And until that, I would say I am stubborn, but based on facts and realities.
Okay. So there's a reason why I always ask this question. Is because it's good to know the profile that we're sharing with everyone, to know that everyone had a past, and obviously everyone grew up from what they got used to and then who they are now. So that goes to show you could be any kind of person, any kind of behavior, but then you can change your ways and become the best of who you want to be. So that's why I always ask this question, and it's always interesting to know because it creates laughter. See, we laughed about it,
Yeah,
and you
sure.
even said it was a bit personal, but you still shared. So there we have it. Now, tell us about your activities and your activeness in youth work. You've spoken about a lot in regards to Just Act and all the activities you've got yourself involved in, especially tourism. And we know tourism is an important sector for growth and development. So tell us about that and what has been the most impactful solution from the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, Senabo, I think looking at my work, as you may ask, yes, I have been into youth work back in, let me say, in 2018 or 2017, because this was a job I started just life after school. And I was really inspired by some senior brothers. Not actually, I have continued with them throughout the journey because some of them actually have got themselves other opportunities that they think are more of visible for them to take up. And for people like myself, I continue the journey since then. And I would say, as I was inspired by, let's say, JYFCA Just Act, I was also able to climb the ladder to also kind of see myself involved in regional structures when it comes to youth empowerment or youth development. So it was through Just Act I had an opportunity to also work with the regional structure of the young people, that is regional youth committee of Central River region, and there I started as a vice chairperson of the Central River region.
Okay.
And I served a term. From there, then I was elected as the Central River region youth chairperson. This is how I followed a career. I've served a term as a youth chairperson and also a member of the National Youth Council. And we went back for Congress where I was re-elected until mid last year when my term came to an end.
Okay.
But again, knowing the dynamics of youth work or youth development, also contrasting it with tourism development, I think it was really something that could match. Why do I think it was something that could match? Because looking at tourism is more of a service industry.
Yeah.
And those services can only be delivered by the HR, by the human resource. So with that, I was seeing it as an opportunity for young people to be trained on the job. And, they will be able to also acquire some marketable jobs. I always say marketable jobs for some reasons, because I know that tourism actually creates that employment for young people.
Of course.
But I cannot really justify if young people are really receiving a fair earning return. So therein, I don't call such as a marketable job because it's more of exploiting the youth when it comes to earning. So in what we do in many cases, we try to create an avenue where what that particular young person will be earning, after your expenditure, you will have, a fair amount with you as a disposable income. So in reality, I think my work has been really inspired because I have been impacting on the lives of people. And also I believe, I also have few people that also look up to me in what I do.
Nice.
So with some of those things actually inspire me along the way in making sure that I do my part and also continue to work with my team members to actually register success.
Nice, great, and that's the most important part of it. When you know that the work you're doing is registering success at the same time, is impacting on the lives of young people, and not even young people, just anyone in particular that can feel that okay, what Omar is doing and his team is, getting towards me as well, and it's actually inspiring me too. So, in 2019, you won the Stone Circle's Youth Excellence Award. Tell us about that, and how did it feel winning that? What was the feeling like when you first heard, oh, I was the winner?
Yeah, well, First of all, I think I just have to thank the Stone Circle management team for having that trust to award me with that award in 2019, which actually was really amazing. And also, I indeed appreciated the award because I thought, or I think then, it was really timely, considering what we were doing in rural Gambia. Sometimes I don't like to use the word I, knowing I was not really registering some of the successes as alone. I have, a whole team of young people
Of course.
that actually I work with, and they were throughout supportive. So I would say it was really timely, and also it have inspired me to do more than what I was doing in those times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll talk about the Janjanbureh United Sustainable Tourism Community, Just Act. How has this organization benefited tourism in Janjanbureh? You've made some mentions, but just exactly how has it benefited the area, and especially with tourism, when tourists come over, etc.?
Yeah, Senabo, I would say the first benefit that Just Act has impacted in the tourism development of Jamboree is putting up a trained team who serve as community tour guides or local tour guides around the island. The other benefit that we actually take into that community is you might know about the annual Janjambure Kankurang Festival, which is today a national event.
Nice.
It's not actually led by Just Act, but it came through the membership of Just Act.
Okay.
That a festival could be a good idea, and from that idea was what we develop and sell it out to partners. Partners here, if I say partners, I mean the International Trade Center and the Youth Empowerment Project with the NCSC, and also to the community of Janjambure.
Nice.
And when this was done, what we did, we just push it away from Just Act, and then sell the idea to the community. And when the community actually accepted it, they went further to develop it as a product.
Nice.
And members of Just Act were also part of this organization, that is the festival organization, in making sure that an annual festival is able to be staged in Janjambure. And the reason behind it is actually to encourage more travelers on that island, encourage domestic travelers, and also increase the economic income of those that are residing on the island, more especially the youth entrepreneurs.
I love that.
Yes, and the other benefit we have actually brought is creating employment for our young people, because through Just Act, I know certainly some of our young people are being employed by different institutions, because when we know there is an employment opportunity and you have the qualification, kind of, we just support you through your application, and also make sure that you are able to be absorbed. And the other thing we have actually impacted positively on is creating that skills training for our young people, because we have young people who are trained on life skills like plumbing, electrical work, you name it. We have other young people who are also trained on hospitality industry, because few years ago YAP was also conducting a training through GTHI, that is the Gambia Tourism and Hospitality Institute, and they were recruiting young people around the island. So what we did was to actually encourage our young people to apply for it, those that think they want to work around the professional industry.
Nice.
And today some of them, even if they are not employed, they have created employment for themselves.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And that actually brings it to my next question, which is the entrepreneurship. I know you have a background in entrepreneurship and business advising. Tell us, how have you incorporated that with, your tourism experience and, your background of youth work?
I would say my entrepreneurship skills, I have been using it almost in all my activities, being it tourism, being it, some of the community development activities that we do. Because if you look at, in fact, the type of tourism that we develop around around rural Gambia is more of a community-based tourism concept. And if you look at community-based tourism concept, it's more of looking at responsible and sustainable tourism.
Yeah.
So in essence, it actually, looked at things that, the host communities or the communities themselves will come up with things that would have direct benefits to their lives and livelihoods, and ensure that they're able to develop some of those things as products and link it to the market. So as such, it is only with someone who is with an entrepreneurial skills or a community development skills. And one thing that is relevant around community-based tourism is, as much as you must have a tourism background, you must also have community development background.
True.
Because what happens here is sometimes you see communities surrounded with some great potentials that they could actually, use and benefit themselves. But sometimes they don't see those potentials as things that could change lives and livelihoods.
True.
So, through entrepreneurship background, it helps you to identify some of those products that are with potentials that can be developed and that can actually suit the market as expected.
Nice, nice. So now we're nearly there, but the question I have is, what's your opinion on the young people, because we still have young people that are, migrating from the rural Gambia and coming into the combos. And even though there's opportunities in the rural ends of the Gambia, but still they're coming. So now what's your opinion on that? And what do you think more needs to be done to encourage and inspire youths to stay where they are, to make it out there as well?
Thank you very much. And I always see such question as the most challenging question. But then before I answer your question, I just want to recognize the efforts of few institutions, that is the Youth Empowerment Project, IMVFO, Coofee, Annabelle, for working with young people around rural Gambia. But again, as much as we have a lot of opportunities around the regions or around rural Gambia, we don't have the same strength to make sure that these opportunities are tapped, we're able to penetrate them as young people in rural Gambia. So for me, in my own view, I would say there's still a lot to be done. More especially with the international organizations that actually have offers for young people, being it the YAP, being it the Coofee, being it the IMVF. Sometimes I think we need to come to the level of our rural young people. For example, we have so many opportunities around rural young people, looking at the agro grants, looking at the loan, the mini loans, and all not around the Coofee project. But the reality here is, the approaches used, I am not quite convinced that most of our young people would be able to tap those opportunities. For example, if you have an agro grant that you're targeting a rural agro farmer to benefit from, let's say an amount of $250,000, and that particular rural farmer have never gone to a conventional school, you don't expect that person to actually fill a form of 5 pages in order to get that support from those institutions, being it NACUJ or the Coofee, support. So what I want to say here is, I think we need to take a different approach if indeed we want to change the lives of those rural young people.
That's true.
I'm not trying to be like discriminatory, but the reality here is, you go to the rural area, about 50 or 60% of those young people who are living there have not been to school. So if you want them to benefit from support through filling forms and all not, I am saying that might not really be possible. We might really leave a whole lot of young people without benefiting, whilst we are out there saying we are supporting young people on different areas. So I don't really think those approaches are working. And in my other view also, I would say, I don't think the government is doing a lot in coordinating, some of these things together. When I say in coordinating some of these things, I would say here, what I want to say here is, you have different players around youth empowerment and development, but there is no single institution that actually coordinates all those activities.
Okay.
So what you see in the field is a repetition. I will come and train a group of 30 young people on entrepreneurship as an institution. Another institution will come and train almost the same young people on the same entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So the trainings becomes a repetition.
Okay.
Whilst the other approach could be used. 30 is being trained, let's say for example, by NEDI on entrepreneurship. There is nothing wrong in either GYCC or YEP or the National Youth Council in coordinating, in facilitating to ensure that those 30 young people who are trained on entrepreneurship are also able to acquire funding or support through the mini grant or through the loans as they are available.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that are lacking.
Okay.
And we will still sit back and blame the youth that, you know, we are not serious, we are at the ghettos, we are at the woods, drinking attires or smoking and all not. When actually, sometimes in fact, you know, we marginalize some of those young people who are at the VU.
Yeah.
We only speak to those that we think we can invite to our platforms.
True.
So there is a huge gap.
Okay. That's something I guess we all need to work on together, and the recommendations that you've given, I think, is recommendations that should be considered. But we will definitely talk more on this. We don't have enough time, though, and usually you get the chance to give your words of wisdom to young people, but you cannot, you know, we don't have enough time. So you could just give me one or two words that you have to inspire the youth.
Yeah, for me, what I would always say is, the youth need to believe him or herself.
Okay.
That you don't have to wait for any support in order to move on. You need to start on your own, and so that you are also able to knock on other doors. If support comes, fine. If it does not come, still you should be able to move on.
True.
Using, you know, some of the potentials that are surrounding you. And to be realistic, there are potentials in this country. All that it needs is patience and hard work to actually reach there. So therefore, I want to encourage every young person to utilize those opportunities and make sure, you know, we're able to reach up there.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Omar Jammeh. That's all we had for you in this episode of Coffee With. And I don't need to reiterate what he said in regards to his words of wisdom, but you've heard it yourself. I'd like to thank my team, Uncle Basana for directing the program, and thank MCR for, you know, directing the shot, and also thank my cameraman, Sidi Sambu and Fakir Bature. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.